Okay. Now see, this is the Global Digest think tank group. We sharing our knowledge and contributing to the whole world as a think tank group. So before we start discussion, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience so they can know you better? Please, see.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, John, for inviting me to talk to you and your audience through your Global Digest Institute. I thank you very much. First of all, let me introduce myself. This is Dr. Rizwan Nasir. I am in academia for last 15 years, serving in Pakistan's top universities like National University of Sciences and Technology, Comsats University, and currently I'm working with Pakistan Air Force Air War College Institute, Karachi. And my expertise, yes, indeed, is China, South Asia, and of course, US foreign policy, because I have been the alumni of China as well as the United States. So I have a quite balanced opinion about both of the countries. I am currently working at Pakistan Air Force Air War College Institute, where the future military commanders, they undergo the training or educational training, you may call it. Actually, I am a civil instructor, a professor. I am involved in teaching of the courses. I'm involved in supervising of research that takes place here. At the same time, I am also carrying out some administrative responsibilities with Institute. Primarily, let me distinguish between two categories. One is people who are uniformed, serving in a military. The other is the civil cadre, like in the capacity of professorship or civil officers who are helping out. And so I'm in the civil cadre, where we are teaching and supervising and researching. That is our primary job here.
I see. So you are not a uniform man, right?
I'm not a uniform. Yes, absolutely right.
Probably your background is more academic, right?
Yes, absolutely academic and research. And I have been working with Pakistan Media, which is national media, Pakistan Television Network. I started as a current affairs commentator with my Pakistan's national TV, PTV, and then in the same year, in 2013, I started as a research analyst with Radio Pakistan. They were taking my opinion on a regular basis, and I'm still working with them as I'm sharing my opinion on various issues of domestic, regional, as well as global importance.
Yeah. Great. It's great, your background to hear that. And what about as you are a professor, as a lecturer, what subject do you teach mainly? It's a political science, or what is your main subject? What is your field?
Yeah, my major degree, which is a PhD and postdoctorate, is international relations, the major umbrella. If I further come down to shortlist further areas where I have been researching, is I have been teaching as well. Pakistan's foreign policy in the region, US foreign policy in South Asia, Pakistan, China, India, trilateralism, China's foreign policy in the region. So this is where I have been working and researching. And most importantly, what I have been publishing more on the nuclear politics of South Asia. And being in the region where there are two nuclear powers next to each other, there are always the chances of confrontation since the 1947, we continued 1965, 71, 99. There were shadows of war, but after 99, there were the shadows of nuclear war. So I started working on the nuclear politics and always try to highlight where we can find a common ground, we can work together, and we can find some confidence building measures to reduce the tensions, and we can bring peace and stability in the region. That's what I have been teaching and researching for the last maybe 10 years or more.
See, so you teach international relations, including nuclear issue and many such things, right?
Yes.
So Uh, I mean, I've been talking with 3, 4 Indian professor in the previous podcast. If you watch our podcast, you may see some are expert on military, some are expert on uh, politics and regional issue. But your case is you're a Pakistani professor, you may have your own point of view. So there are different view from India, professor. It can be what is Pakistani capacity, uh, example nuclear weapon, nuclear warhead, how much Pakistan has and how much India has, how nuclear conflict can be danger between these two nuclear power.
Uh, Thank you very much for a very great question. Now, first of all, I would like to answer the question: how much number of nuclear weapons Pakistan has? How many number of nuclear weapons India has? I would like to state Pakistan's nuclear weapons are for sake of countering, balancing India's nuclear weapons. I would like to draw your attention towards this very fact that India got nuclear weapons in 1974. And when India got nuclear weapons in 1974, Pakistan and India, there was an asymmetry between two countries. So afterwards, India a kind of aggressive posture towards Pakistan because one nuclear power always tries to dominate over other non-nuclear power. Then Pakistan's policymaker realized if what we do, we try to balance the power in the region because if this continues, the exploitation won't stop. So Pakistan tried to balance in 1999, and still when India in 1999 retested its nuclear stature, it retested its nuclear weapons just to rejuvenate India's nuclear status. Pakistan tested nuclear weapons that time, got the opportunity. Now, how many nuclear weapons Pakistan has? To me, that is least important. Most important is we are not matching weapon to weapon, but what we are doing, we are trying to balance. If India is getting 100 nuclear weapons, we are trying to get a minimum credible nuclear deterrence through half of the number of nuclear weapons. But some estimates they say Pakistan has 120 nuclear weapons. That I would believe that people do not have the proper information about it. Pakistan's stance about the nuclear is
Pakistan government not officially released the number of nuclear weapons.
absolutely right. Absolutely right. You are absolutely right here. So we just adhere to our credible minimum deterrence where we can have at least a number of nuclear weapons. We can. Why we want them? Because India will be behaving in the region, and that is why you can see now after 1999 there is no war between two countries. That is the evidence. Yes.
See, so India probably they are more number of nuclear weapon than Pakistan.
Absolutely. I tell you, India is a bigger country than Pakistan in terms of its size, in terms of its economy as well, in terms of its population, and above all, in terms of its strategic objectives. India's border with China has territorial disputes unresolved. India has gone to war with China. So India has an unresolved territorial dispute with Pakistan. That India has went to war so many times with Pakistan. At the same time, India's other neighbors, small neighbors, they feel like India has aggressive posture towards them. So India is trying to reach beyond Indian region through having a partnership in the Indo-Pacific as well. Recently, I draw your attention towards the recent formation of American Indo-Pacific strategy. India is a great partner in that. India is a member of AUKUS, and India is a member of other regional security organizations. And that is why India has multi-frontal objectives, multi-frontal war strategy, and that is why India has more weapons, more military, and more resources, I mean, say, in terms of military than Pakistan. That's the reason.
So related to Indo-Pacific issue, India is one of Quad member, and how Pakistani view, because Pakistan is a little bit away from in the Indo-Pacific strategy. Pakistan is more about Central Asia and South Asia, west of China, but it's a little bit far from Pacific Ocean. How Pakistan feel the Indo-Pacific strategy? It is more it it is a it is more unsecure because of India might use advantage over Indo-Pacific strategy to suppress Pakistan or something like that, or is there is nothing to afraid the strategy?
Uh,
India behavior will be like that, or how do you see that?
Actually, John, I would like to say a few things. If India has sought some strategic partnership with United States in the Indo-Pacific, you just mentioned India has joined Quad as a member. I just said India is a member of AUKUS. Now it's not limited to the Indo-Pacific; it's coming to the West Asia as well. In West Asia, India has signed I2U2. India, Israel, UAE, etc. This is how India is expanding its area of influence. Now, what Pakistan is worried about is that if India is expanding its influence, it should not be able to undermine our national interest. What our national interest is. We are trying to believe that we should be able to protect our borders from especially Indian side as well as. Now, if India is increasing its influence, it should be for a purpose, for a particular reason. uh, what America believes this Indo-Pacific strategy is to bring peace in the Indo and Pacific region. And the basic objective is to curb China's rising influence. That's it. Now, India natural has unresolved issues with China. India finds China as a strategic rival. Pakistan and China are very good friends and strategic partners. Now, this becomes quite relevant to Pakistan's foreign policy as well and Pakistan's security objectives as well. Uh, if India is giving its best in the Indo-Pacific through like economic aid, through building alliances for the collective good of the people, opening free Indo-Pacific region, opening of ocean, free navigation, rights of freedom, etc., etc. I truly appreciate it, but it's not limited to that only. It is also talking about aggrandizing military arrangements, aggrandizing security arrangements, expanding the infrastructure of military, etc. That is what is concerning Pakistan. But now I would like to suggest few things. Like if India really is interested, India's neighbors, like you, one of the close neighbor to India and Burma, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal, and other regions. India should start from there. You know, there is a saying, famous saying, charity begins at home. And that is what, if you want to do really good, start from your neighbors. Start from Nepal, start from Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka recently has been in crisis. You know, the economy was defaulted. People were out in the street. They were in an environment of uncertainty. India did not pay attention. India is more concerned about what is happening in the South China Sea, what is happening in the North China Sea, what is happening in the Pacific. India is more concerned. So my suggestion is that if you really are sincere, you should be building the neighborhood first. India was in Afghanistan till America was there. And now still India is trying to work in Afghanistan. But my point is that if you truly are sincere, go in, help people. That is the way you exercise your public diplomacy, and you will find the true results that people will start liking you. For me, I personally appreciate Indian economy recently overtook the UK economy. Wonderful. India recently was hosting G20 summit in Kashmir. And I appreciate the G20 summit hosting, but not in Kashmir. It is an unresolved issue between India and Pakistan. But at the same time, there are several good things which are happening in terms of gender equality in India. India is having very great relations with the European countries, and India capitalized that Indo-US strategic partnership. Indian foreign policy on many occasions is laudable, is appreciable. I appreciate being the student of international politics. I say that there are many good things. India and China are trying to keep a peace for a long time. Even recently in the Galvan Valley, if you know that, you are a neighbor, there was a fight between India and the Chinese. but no bullet was fired. The people, even the soldiers, there were 21 people or more than that who died as a result of fight, but no bullet was fired. It means both the countries try to keep or try to de-escalate. They did not escalate. My point is that there are several things to appreciate about India where it shows restraint, but there are several things where it has some of the things which are objectionable. Being a student, we can discuss them, but I have no biases towards them. But I saying my clarity about these things. Now, what is important? The region is struck with so many challenges, especially after Belt and Road Initiative, after China started building China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. India tried to impede the progress in the Balochistan province, try to air the insurgency in that area. In Gilgit-Baltistan is an area where India tried to air the insurgency once again. But I would say if China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is built, it's in the collective interest of India, Pakistan, and China, as well as Afghanistan and Iran. My point is that we should be adhering to geo-economic approach, not geopolitical approach. Geo-economic approach is in the interest of all the region. The countries, if they start fighting, they will not be able to find. That is recently has been realized by Iran and Saudi Arabia. After fighting for decades, they realized fighting is no one's interest. They reached normalization, and China is playing a pivotal role as a normalizing or an agent of normalizing these two diets. So my point is that now, after your country is also the part of economic corridor. China, India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, they all are working on that. So I personally believe if these kind of corridors, economic activities take place, who is going to benefit? The common people, the country at large. I personally advocate the geo-economic approach, not the geopolitical, but unfortunately, we are living in a world where geopolitics is always dominating over economic things. So this is what I want to say, that as a responsible stakeholders.
Yes, I can see several points you mentioned. As first thing, as Pakistani position, it doesn't mean it will be fighting or going to be war. Even though there's no sign or uh, no danger between or no predictable, but your point is Pakistan should be ready for whatever. I mean, you should not undermine India, even it seems it won't happen anything. But you're mentioning your Pakistani position should be always ready for any attack or any aggression. So you should not be careless. So you have to be aware. That's why Pakistan always check and balance, and they are preparing, including nuclear weapons and any other military issue. That's Pakistani position. And also, even though Indian participate in many club and many group, many strategy, we don't know the reality, how much Indian capacity and how much they were, involved, or yeah, the real, strength in the reality is unpredictable. Nobody know, and it may be very little or maybe not much. We don't know. And other thing is, as you point out, Indian behavior is, although it is largest democracy and it's a kind of big power in the region, but India behavior is they are not really any significant supporting or helping next to their neighbor about democratization or economic development. as you mentioned in Sri Lanka case, even in Burma case, Indian is bigger democracy, but they never, till now it's two years military coup in Burma. Indian did not show anything about democracy support or democratization in Burma. And even India central government especially, even not welcome democracy fighter, a lot of civilian refugee. They did not formally procedure and prepare for those crises, those innocent people plight, yes, their difficulty. That is, the reality Indian behavior to its neighbor, and also worst thing is Indian army has continuously and even keep cooperating with Burmese military, Burmese army. Even they allow Burmese army to violate international border between India and Burma, and they violate and they Burmese Air Force, they attack the democracy fighter at the border. So how India supposed to behave for democratization in neighbor is totally opposite. And it did not make any significant thing, as you point out. Democratization in the region, in the neighbor, and economic development is totally India is not showing a good leader or a good regional superpower. They just it's big side, but their input or their behavior is not like their side. Bigger democracy, but they produce little democracy or nothing democracy for the region. So that is a lot of India has, their incapacity in their situation. Anyway, at least India is keep. Indian people will still, they approve for democracy. They did not want military dictator or any other kind of political system, but Indian population still want democracy. So at least there is democracy, nothing more than that in India.
Yeah.
So in contact
John,
with democracy, Pakistan population also interest and support for democracy. I don't know, how do you consider current Pakistani government is democracy government or dictator government or military government? I don't know. So in that context, if Pakistani people interest democracy, Pakistan should more collaborate or cooperate with democracy country, including India. Why Pakistan prefer over authoritarian China than democracy country? Is just for security, or why not you have foresee for the future political climate for Pakistan itself?
John, your question pertains to, first of all, the democracy in Pakistan, the current kind of crisis that has already set in Pakistan. Actually, Pakistan and India came into being in 1947, 14 August Pakistan and 15 August India. They declared their independence, did not declare it the same day, because they declared the same day. I don't know what was the motives behind. But India, from the very beginning, had the leadership who were involved in making India a stable country, like Jawaharlal Nehru. He was the person who steered India out of early crisis, which you may call it the crisis when India was divided, the subcontinent was divided. Then Jawaharlal Nehru was a person who steered. On the Pakistani side, the founding father was Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So Muhammad Ali Jinnah in 1947, he established a country, but 1948, he died. There was no leadership. So from the very beginning, there was a leadership crisis in Pakistan. On the other side, India had a leadership. That made a difference from the very beginning. So India started working on the Constitution of India in the very early phase. Whereas, imagine, Pakistan came into being 1947, and the first constitution of Pakistan comes, like, which is the agreed upon constitution 1973. I don't consider the earlier attempts. They were repealed, the constitution attempts before. But 1973, imagine how long Pakistan served without a proper constitution, right?
I see.
India had established its roots as a stable country, and that is why the leadership in India had thwarted Indian army to stay away from the politics. And on the other side, Pakistan's army was a very powerful entity at that time. When the early leadership passed away, the army had a lot of role to play during that time. And from the very beginning, the army continued to play that role in Pakistan, right? So even today, the army's role in Pakistan is inevitable. The reason is that other leaders, like democratic leader, we call them, either they were incapacitated, they had no capacity, or secondly, some of them were corrupt. Thirdly, there were some, so military always thought these are not competent people, military intervened. So half of the country's time in 75 years, more than half time was ruled by a military dictator, and half of the time, a lot of prime ministers who were not fully empowered as well as not purely democratic people, right? They were democratically elected.
Military rule is against Pakistani constitution or according to Pakistani constitution?
Actually, there is no role of military in Pakistan's constitution. Even Pakistan's constitution stops military to intervene into politics.
They against constitution.
Yeah,
they cannot follow
Article 244 of Pakistan's constitution, 243, 242. Once we read it, we find out the military may not play any role in the politics. Yes, if the civil administrator wants, they have a challenges of security, law and order situation, the military may come to aid the civil, like police department, right? But now coming to this current political crisis in Pakistan, actually, Pakistan's current political crisis has multiple reasons. I will try to limit myself to two particular reasons. There are three political parties, which are famous at this time. One is Pakistan People's Party, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. These Tehreek-e-Insaf government was removed recently in 2022, but then there was a democratic alliance which came into being. But people did not accept it. The larger people, they said this is a kind of artificial setup for serving the purpose of the elite who are the part of politics to them. So that is why there is a question of legitimacy on the current system. This is what the people think. You read the newspaper, you will find out there were protests people were serving. And I personally believe this is very unfortunate. This has created a gap or trust deficit between political as well as military establishment. Military is for sure guaranteeing the national security of Pakistan, but the trust deficit causing problem for Pakistani people as well. And that is what currently we are having. Now, the current government, which is not enjoying public support, is going to election real soon. There are some parties emerging and the old party is dying down. There are some new alliances, some counter alliances. This is what is happening at the same time. But I personally view that these things are not going to be very positive. Very positive. These are not going to be for Pakistan. The reason is that Pakistan's economy is the biggest challenge at this time. Pakistan's foreign reserves are almost finished. We do not have some exports. But there are some good initiatives recently relying on dollars. Your country may face the same problem, the dollar problem. The country has recently started a trade which is not in dollars with the neighboring countries, with Iran, with Afghanistan, with Russia as a barter system. Barter system is very old. Some people, some political analysts are saying Pakistan is going back to the Stone Age. They are saying that. But given current crisis, of the economy, which is, I think this is going to have some positive effects as well, because regionally, if you are not relying on dollars in transaction, the dollar is likely to come down, because dollar was problem in my country. Recently, there was financial crisis, people were hiding dollars. So because of that, there was a devaluation of currency and hyperinflation happened. I think this current government is trying to take this kind of measures. We can start relying less on the dollars and more on other currencies, like Chinese RMB is another option we can trade. Some other alternate currencies is another option. So this is how we are trying to cope up with the current political and economic crisis. And lastly,
we have experience about Baltic system during UNO democratic government in 1950s with a lot of Soviet, former Soviet and communist countries, but it's totally failed. It was very, lost in Burma. We lost because using Bartek, it seemed it would be good. UNO government believe, but we lost a lot of things. It is.
I tell you, John, I do agree with you.
One of our experience.
Yeah, John, we are living in a world where we are economically digitalized. We have digital transactions. You can transfer money anywhere in the world in no time. The barter system is, on the other side, is a very slow method. You cannot do trade in real times. So I think so personally, yes, there are some pros, some cons, but this is an artificial solution to that problem. It is not a long term, by the way.
I don't know in Pakistan case, I'm not sure in Pakistan, but in Burmese case, we have experience. So what about your opinion, democracy, country over authoritarian China? Why Pakistan has to choose authoritarian?
Okay, absolutely.
I'd
like to comment.
Burma and Pakistan are many similarity because Pakistan has military influence over democracy. It means democracy is not consolidated in Pakistan as well. But anyway, Pakistan much better than Burma. You are much better democracy system than in Burma, but military is still also influential in Pakistan. That is the thing.
Okay. Now, Pakistan, why Pakistan chooses authoritarian China over the democracies? Pakistan is always trying to keep a balance between the United States as well as China. The reason is that Pakistan has been a US ally, really ally, since 1947.
Right. And you're better than India with US ally, like Afghanistan case, Pakistan
absolutely
ally with US, not India,
Yes,
US.
not India. Pakistan was ally. It signed a military agreement with United States in 1954, which is CETO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization, and CENTO, Central Treaty Organization, 1955. We signed then back in Cold War times. But Pakistan's relations with China came to be very fruitful in 1965 war, when Pakistan needed diplomatic support against India in 1965 war. And China supported Pakistan on diplomatic front. And then Pakistan realized, yes, at that time, China was not a powerful country, honestly. China's regional influence was not high. China's global influence was not high. So when China got a permanent representation in the United Nations Security Council in 70s, then Pakistan said, yes, this is a country, Pakistan can have a close relationship. So now that question, why Pakistan chose authoritarian China, let me tell you, the countries, like democracy to me is a system which is produced by the European countries, which they want every country should adopt. I would like to give example of the Middle Eastern countries. Saudi Arabia is largest American partner, has been very close friend of America, is a monarchy. Kuwait, very close to America, and America went to war with it, war, and then monarchy again, monarchy. Middle Eastern countries, Qatar, UAE, all monarchies, no democracies. But America enjoys very good ties with them, which is a champion of democracy. Now coming to Pakistan. Pakistan is a small country compared to America, but Pakistan always believes in the common interest. So China serves Pakistan's common interest without saying that there is authoritarian China. Pakistan says, yes, China is our best friend or brotherly country. Pakistan's official policy is one China policy. Pakistan does not recognize Taiwan as a country, separate entity. Pakistan's official stance is that one China policy. The reason is that China also in return extends a lot of help to Pakistan, which is economic, which is strategic, which is military, technical know-how, a lot of things. So I personally believe this is more of a common interest than calling it democratic, undemocratic. That's a separate debate. But under that debate, we can discuss where the mutual interest is more. We can have more closer ties, like America does with the Middle Eastern countries. They have more common interest.
Right.
They work on that instead of calling them, no, you should bring democracy. No, it's not like that. So I personally believe Pakistan's relationship with China is based on mutual interest. With America is based on mutual interest, irrespective of what kind of system is there.